Greetings, and welcome to another episode of Math with Mrs. D in room 403. Once again, please make sure you have found yourself a distraction-free zone with limited interruptions, or no interruptions would be best. Make sure you have a pencil or pen and the note-taking packet, which comes to school and goes home every day. If you don't have that packet for some reason, any blank paper will do. Just make sure you bring it back to school. You can pause and watch more than once. And in this case, there is not a response link or a question and answer. So today we're going to talk about estimating and estimating products for reasonableness. Estimation is a skill where you have an answer that is close but not exact. And if your product is not close to the estimate, then your answer is probably not reasonable, and your answer is probably pretty far off base and wrong. So we're going to use a word that's magnitude when we're talking about magnitude estimates. And magnitude is really the size of that largest part, the largest value that you're working with. So for instance, if you're working with a number in the hundreds, you're going to round and make your estimates based on rounding to the nearest hundred. If you have a number that is in the tens, you're going to round and use that number based on what you round to the nearest 10. Or if you simply have numbers that are less than 10, you can round to the nearest 1 or use a compatible number like a 2 or a 5. I have an example down here, and I am unable to write as I speak in this time. I don't have the right things clicked, so just follow along where it says example. The problem that we're working with is 26 times 29. Actually, it's an expression. Let's use the proper terms. The expression is 26 times 29. And I know you all could set that up and figure that out accurately, but let's work on our estimating skills and try to conceptualize about how big that value, that product is going to be. So if you take a look at the 26, and off to the left of the 26, I drew a little range bar, and 26 falls in between the magnitude of tens, between 30 and 20. And 26 falls just above the halfway mark, and that makes it bump up. So from the past, you know that anything 5 or higher bumps you up to that next place value. So we have taken 26 and rounded up to 30, and likewise the same thing with 29, rounding up to 30, and you should be able to see that 30 times 30 is 900, because 3 times 3 is the 9, and then you have the 10 times 10, which is the hundreds. And I did a quick little check off to the left with multiplication to 754, and then I compared that to my estimate of 900, and I could say that they're close because they're both in the high hundreds. And remember, I rounded both the 26 and the 29 down a little bit, up a little bit, so that means my estimate's going to be higher than what that actual answer would be. So lots of different connecting pieces and observations you need to make when you're estimating. Now I want to draw your attention to the fact that you'll run across some decimals as well, and it kind of depends upon what your purpose is, but in this case we're doing magnitude estimates, so we're rounding to the nearest 10 in this case, because the highest value is in the tens place. And I'm looking at the 22.5, and I have my little range boxes over to the left of that, and 22.5 falls between the tens, falls between 30 and 20, and 22.5 is less than 25, so it's less than halfway to 30, therefore I would round down to 20. And then I could also look at that 5.2, which falls between the 5 and the 10, and it is less than halfway to 10, so I round that down basically to 5, and 5 is a nice compatible number. So then I'm just working with 20 multiplied by 5, and that is 100. So I'd like to help you see this problem with the 26 times 29 that we did earlier. I'd like you to see it just a little bit different way than a magnitude estimate rounding. I want you to look at this using compatible numbers, or we can call them friendly numbers, and that means rounding to a number that's close, that's really easy to work with mentally, where you don't have to do calculations on the side, you're just doing those in your head. And so in this case, I have the number 26, and I can say, you know what, I'm just going to round that down to the nearest unit, which is the ones place, and I'm going to make that a 25, because quarters are really easy for me to work with. I know that 4 quarters makes 100, and I can work with that because out of 30 I can deal with the 4s. So 25 is a nice easy number to work with, and then 29 rounding up to 30 makes that nice and easy also. Then when I look at my problem, I have 25 multiplied by 30. I should immediately observe that that 25 times 3 is basically 3 quarters, and if I have 3 quarters, I'm at 75 cents. So 25 times 3 gets me to 75, and then if I do my extended fact into 25 times 30, I should easily be able to tell that my estimate is 750 from that little calculation. So today we had a nice short video on estimation, and basically that was centered around reasonableness, where you are quickly calculating numbers by rounding in this case, or using compatible numbers, and you are going to get an estimate that is close but not exact. And this can help you make quick judgments on amounts, which can help guide you as to whether or not you're going to proceed in whatever it is that you are considering. For instance, if you're out shopping and you find 3 or 4 things that you want to get, well, you can estimate what that total is going to be and then compare that to how much you have in your account or pocket or wallet. Another helpful thing is to think about time. How much time will it take to get ready? And you kind of estimate, I wake up in the morning, takes me 10 minutes to eat breakfast, 5 minutes to get dressed, and gotta take the dog for a walk, and you can kind of backtrack and decide how much time you're going to need to do all your stuff before you go do something with that has a time frame to it. So I hope that you better understand estimating and have some strategies such as rounding or using compatible numbers in order to come up with an estimate and have a ballpark range, a ballpark idea of what your answers would be. Have a great day, everybody.